Today's video is all about RMDs, required minimum distributions. Those qualified plans that once a person turns 73, that you have to start setting up what the distributions are going to be out of these qualifying accounts or policies or policies. Now, this is a very popular thing for my clients to track in SmartOffice. And what I want to do is show you perhaps a more effective and easier way to do it than what I'm seeing being done out in the field. So hang in there with me. I'm in Joseph Sweet Pickle's record, and this is a custom page layout. It's not a very fancy one. I just went down at the bottom of the left-hand column and created a custom group using my custom page layout option. And using custom fields, I created a custom field for the RMD distribution year, the current year distribution, the dollar figure, and then the date of when that will be distributed. Now, this actually reflects last year's RMD. So what happens is, what I am seeing, the most common thing that people are doing is once they have that set up, now that we're in 2024, we want to put in what the 2024 distribution is going to be. What they do is they come over here and they overwrite the information. They'll change the year, they'll change the amount, and change the date of distribution. So I was asking a client one day and I said, so what do you do, or do you even need to track the previous year's amount or all of the previous amounts or a given timeline? And he says, well, we make a note in the file, or maybe I'll put in a SmartPad note or something, but that's kind of how we handle that option. So now the question becomes, how can we make this a little bit easier and very smooth? So what we're going to do is we are not going to use that custom field grouping. We are going to use the page layout option, which we're about to go in and change. And we're going to use a SmartPad, and we're going to use a dynamic report. So if you're wondering how that makes it simpler than what they're doing right here, most of that's a one-time setup. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put the previous year's information in my SmartPad as if it didn't even exist there, but I want to remember that data, so I'm just going to leave that open. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put it's RMD 2023. Remember, I'm doing last year's. And then I'm going to put dash 5,870.75, and I'm going to indicate that this is a single distribution. And then the date it will be distributed is distributed March 1, 2023. So we're kind of going along the lines that I would have done this last year, sometime before the distribution went out, so that it reflects my distribution for 2023 in the SmartPad. I'm going to come down here and change the memo date to 2023 for illustration purposes, basically. If I'm doing this as I'm doing it for the upcoming year, I could use whatever the created on date is and not have to worry about it. But this is the one date field I can adjust. Now, I've got my information in here. So again, forget that it's down here. I'm going to get rid of that in a minute. One other thing I wanted to show you is notice that when you're saving SmartPad note, there's a button that says link. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to show me that Joseph has this one IRA, and I'm just going to put a little check mark in it, and I'm going to click OK. And now this SmartPad note is linked to this policy in SmartOffice. So if you're tracking these qualified plans, either in the investment module or in the policy module, you literally can say this note that I'm creating on the contact record SmartPad. This is your master SmartPad. I would like to have that also linked to the individual policy. In this case, my IRA 12345. So I'm just going to click OK. All right, so now I've got that entry in there. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up my screen to look a little bit different. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my page layout, and I'm going to get rid of that custom grouping because I'm not going to use that anymore. Instead, what I have done in the meantime was I created a dynamic report, and I'll show you the structure of the report in a couple of minutes. And I'm going to add that to this home page, the personal screen. So I'm going to come down here and click on Add Dynamic Report Portlet. Now you must search for the report. You can see under recently visited, that's the actual report I created. But for the page layout, you must search for the report and attach it that way. You can't select it under recently visited. So I'm going to click on looking for the ones created by me. I'm just going to click search because I have a bunch. I'm going to retrieve them all here. And then I'm going to click on the created on date because it'll move my current one up to the top, and there it is. Now, after I have searched for it, I can select the report. It's going to add it to the bottom of my left-hand screen. You can see it right here. So here again, especially if you're not familiar with creating page layouts, I have a lot of flexibility here. Right now, it's in the first column at the bottom, but maybe I want it in the second column. Maybe I want to change my layout from a 2-column to a 3-column. In fact, I can just easily do that. And then maybe I'll take this dynamic report and move it over to the third one so that it's kind of in its own little section. And if you've ever seen any of the page layouts I've done in the past, there's all kinds of additional pieces of data you can add to the personal screen. But I think I'll leave that there for right now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my, notice there's nothing in here. It's because it's a dynamic report. Anything that is feeding off information that's sort of behind the scenes, it's not going to fill it in. I have no phone numbers, addresses, or anything on the report, on the contact record. But in this case, it's a dynamic report. So I'm also going to make it a little bit taller because 100 pixel isn't that big. So I'm going to put it to 250. I can also go full page width, and I'll show you that as well. So I'm going to click it. It's right now, it's in my third column. I'm going to click Save and Apply. I'm just going to make the changes to my user account. And now over on the right-hand side, there it is. There's my SmartPad note. So, okay, what's the big deal? I have that one. Now let's, as if we were doing it for 2024. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my SmartPad note. Now I can see the one from last year sitting on my screen, so I know how I laid it out. So this one, I'm just going to call it my RMD distribution 2024. And let's say that this one is for $7,750.27. And again, let's say that this is a single distribution. Of course, whatever you want to put on these lines, it's up to you. And then I'm going to put distributed or distribution. Maybe I could put distribute-ION. And we can put March 1, 2024. Now, because I'm doing it in this year for this year, I'm not going to adjust my memo date. It's okay that it's today's date. And if you're wondering, memo date, why can you adjust that? There are actually 2 dates on the SmartPad module. The created on date, which is etched in stone, is going to give you the date and the time that memo was created. But as we know, sometimes it didn't actually occur on that date. So it does allow you to just adjust the secondary date field, the memo date. Now, again, I'm going to link it to this policy. I just click on my little link button. There's my IRA. I click OK. Now I'm just going to click OK. And you might have to refresh your screen. And there they are. There's the one for this year, and there's the one for last year. So instead of having a group of 3 or 4, or however many fields you use for your RMDs, instead I can put it in a notepad, a SmartPad note, and it's going to automatically then populate on my SmartPad, on my home page for the clients on the personal screen. And I can see the current year and any previous years that we've done a distribution on this particular client. To show you the structure of this report, I'm going to come right here on my homepage. These little hash marks on this screen is actually the dynamic report. I just have these 3 columns, memo date, notes, and keywords. The next screen where I give it the report a name, here's my filter. And it's very simple right now. It's just saying notes contains RMD distribution, and the memo date is not null. It is not blank. So it's looking for any SmartPad note for Joseph Sweetpickle that has this phrase in the notes and that the memo date is not empty. And that's it. That's all I have to worry about. Now, if you're wondering why I don't have the contact name in a dynamic report, it's because I'm putting this report on each individual's contact record. And when you attach it to the contact record, it doesn't need the name of the person whose record is on because you're inside that person's record. I want to take it, though, one step further. And then I'm going to put a couple of added notes on the end of this video. Notice when I did that link and it brought me to show me that policy 12345. By linking it to that policy, if I went into Joseph Sweet Pickle's policy module where the IRA policy is listed, I don't know how many of you know, we have purple smart pads. Purple smart pads, in this case, this is the smart pad specifically attached to this IRA 12345 policy. And when I did the master smart pad, which is the yellow smart pad, so all the purple smart pads automatically copy the information up there. And because I linked it, it also then copied it down to the individual policy. But if I come into the purple smart pad, there are my two notes. So not only is the contact record indicative of the RMD information, the policy that this information came from, it's also linked. So I have all of my linking back and forth. Everything is good to go. And moving forward, all I have to do each year is come into their contact record, or for any screen really, that you can access the yellow smart pad, create the note, put in your data. I like it having it here because I can see exactly how I laid it out the previous years, link it to the policy, and then save it, and you're good to go. So RMDs, which stands for required minimum distributions. Now we can say RMDs, required minimum data. So I hope this helps. One last thing I wanted to mention on this. Sometimes you have multiple policies or multiple investment accounts or a combination of policies and investment accounts that make up your RMD. When you do the link, you will notice to select one of the entries from the list below to link to. So if I had multiples here, it would still only allow me to do a single entry. Now, how do you get around that? What do you do with that? Well, there's a couple of things you can think of. What I might do is if I just want basically one distribution note that covers multiples, when I create the note, I might say includes all active IRAs or something along those lines. Link it to one of the policies or investment accounts through the link, and then copy the note itself with all the information, create a new note, link it to the next policy or the next investment account. That way, it's on all of the policy records, all of the investment records that might be included in this. And of course, then they'll all show up on your report as well, and you'll be able to see that. So that's one way you can work. Otherwise, just make a single notation, say, somehow combine them all inside your note itself, and then you don't have to worry about it. All right, if you have any other questions about this, the RMDs using required minimum data, please get a hold of me for not only this, but any other thoughts you might have on ways to make your personal and or additional personal screens much more effective in the type of the data that it's displaying and tracking for you. So have a great day, and thanks for watching.